What is going on, you guys? Today we're going to be taking a look at the Edifier MR4 studio monitor speakers. Now these are the ones that I have been using for the past few months. As you guys can see, I have them back there on my desk setup, and I highly recommend that you get yourself some monitor speakers. They don't need to be studio monitors, but just some speakers for kind of your workspace so that you can go ahead and get a better experience whenever you're listening to music or whenever you're watching something on YouTube. And if you're using it as a gaming setup, having a dedicated set of speakers whenever you don't want to use headphones is also really great. Now the Edifier MR4 are more budget-friendly speakers. They come in at around $130 brand new, but if you do like buying used, which I'm a huge advocate for, you can probably get them around $100. And for $100, these speakers are a steal. I haven't had really any problems in the past 3 months with them. They hook up easily. They have a lot of connections in the back, and they're great again to kind of enhance that experience at your desk setup. Now at this price point, there are other speakers on Amazon, such as the PreSonus Eris. There's a 3.5, a 4.5. They all come around the same price. And I did try the 4.5 Bluetooth version a while back in November. And honestly, those gave me a little bit of problems. I was always hearing a hiss through the speakers. And I know it wasn't the cables because I'm using the exact same cables on the MR4s, and I'm not getting any of that hiss. So for that reason, I decided to return the PreSonus speakers and instead stick with my MR4s. And on top of that, the PreSonus are only available in black. Meanwhile, the MR4s are available in white and now a black option as well, but so that you can get the one that works better for your setup. Now the Edifier MR4s do have a ton of features. The only feature that they don't have that the PreSonus did have is that Bluetooth option. But honestly, if you're using them for your desk setup, just having them connected to the monitor, you can play all kinds of music through your Mac setup or through your PC if you're using a PC instead. And you don't really need that Bluetooth option unless you really need to be using your phone to play music and kind of control it. But again, that's not a big deal to me, but if that's something big to you, only the PreSonus one is currently Bluetooth available. In terms of connections though, the MR4s do have a lot of connections. Like I mentioned, I use it wired. I use TRS balanced cables that go straight into my audio interface. Before I was using the Scarlett Solo, but now I've upgraded for now to the Vocaster Solo, which is or Vocaster 1, I think it's called. It's the same thing as the Scarlett Solo. It's just a newer version. It's a little bit cleaner for kind of my mic setup because I can connect the other XLR connector on the back instead of putting it in the front like you would on the Scarlett Solo. But again, that's one of the connections that you can use. The cables run you like an extra $10 because they're not available or not included in the packaging. The second connection is an RCA connection, which is those color-coded cables that can go straight into the speakers. And then the other cable hooks to the back of your monitor to the headphone output or your PC or the Mac, whatever you're using. And those cables are included in the box, so you don't have to buy an extra set of cables. You can just use the ones that came with the speakers. Now for power input, it does have a cable that's attached to the right speaker, which is unfortunate because whenever you have an attached cable, if anything ever happens to that cable, then you kind of lose out on both of the speakers because you can no longer have power to either one of them. And then the last thing on the back are some adjusters for the low and the high end in all of the audio. Again, these are supposed to be studio monitors and music speakers, but honestly, I don't really use them for studio monitors. I'm not really editing high quality audio through them. I mostly use them to consume content and listen to music at my workspace. So I do have the bass turned up a little bit and then the highs turned down a little bit because for my music taste, I do like having a little bit more bass, a little bit more of the low end, and then less of the higher end frequencies. Now, like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't have Bluetooth, but if you do want to play audio through your phone, there is an aux cord included in the box, and the aux connection is actually on the front side of the right speaker so that you can go ahead and not have to reach around every single time you want to connect something external, but you can use still the aux cord if you want to play something from your phone. Just remember that if you do have the newer iPhone or really any new phone, you do have to have the adapter to connect the aux cord into the device. And the last connection is going to be a headphone output. This, again, for whenever you don't want to be listening to your studio monitors or to the speakers, you can connect your headphones just using a normal 3.5mm jack. And this is really nice because I use it sometimes whenever I want to edit my videos. I don't have the larger connection. I think it's a 6.5 or whatever that goes into the Vocaster 1. So it's nice to be able to have this output on the monitor speakers themselves. That way I can still use headphones, still get a little bit cleaner audio, I guess, whenever I'm editing, hearing more of those low noises that you wouldn't hear through the speakers whenever I'm editing audio for these types of videos. Now, as for the design, the speakers are very clean, very minimal. It's just a speaker, so there's not really a lot going on in the front. You do have a volume knob in the front, which is nice to have whenever you want to adjust audio. Again, whenever you don't have a dedicated audio interface that you can use the volume knob, you can just use the ones on the monitors themselves. But these are some of the only speakers that are kind of in that budget price and are coming in white. Like I said, the other main competitor that's also popular are the PreSonus speakers, and those only come in black. And if you do want white ones, you have to go with something like the Kanto S2s, I think it's called, or getting an Audio Agent A2 Plus for the Bluetooth version of them, or another Bluetooth set of speakers. But those range upwards of $200, where again, these can come around $100, and they're pretty great. They sound well, and they can get really loud if you like listening to loud music. But again, these are going to be very functional whenever you just want to listen to audio, kind of listen to some music, listen to YouTube, or just watch content at your desk setup. But again, the other ones are going to be better for being studio monitors if you're someone that does a lot of mixing, or again, you do video work where you're recording audio and you kind of want to get that flat sound. These, like I said, have those volume knobs at the top, or have those adjustments in the back, which I have set more for content consumption rather than editing any audio at all. Now, in terms of functionality, I think getting a dedicated set of monitor speakers is going to be really helpful to kind of increase that experience at your desk. You can listen again to music very well. These have very good sound, or you can just watch content on them as well. You can have the adjustment knobs in the back if you like to have more bass or less high frequency, or just kind of less bass if you're someone that likes to listen more to the high-end sort of music, more of the acoustic versions of music. You can do that as well through these monitor speakers. After using these speakers for the past few months, the only complaint I did have is that the volume knob actually goes up in clicks. So it's not kind of like a free rolling knob. So because of that, whenever I used to have my Scarlett Solo put away, kind of hidden away, I guess, I couldn't really adjust the volume to the right volume I wanted. It was always either too low, and then just one click up would just be blasting the sound. So that was kind of difficult to adjust. And if you're someone that's just using your PC or connected straight up into the monitor, that might be a little bit more difficult, again, because you're going to have to adjust the volume through the speakers themselves. If your PC doesn't have any volume adjustments in itself, this is the only way that you can adjust the volume, which is kind of annoying. Again, that's the only thing that I have to complain about these speakers. Otherwise, they've been working great. They've added a ton of functionality to my setup. I can always listen to music now because monitor speakers, like the monitor itself, they all usually have really crappy speakers. They're always downfiring or backfiring, which then kind of creates this muffled noise, especially when you have ones that go to the back. But having a dedicated set of speakers is going to increase your experience and kind of give you that joy of listening to something that sounds really well at your desk. Again, I think these are going to be great speakers for your desk setup. They're really going to increase your experience at your desk. And a lot of people will say that if you want a dedicated studio monitors, these aren't really that great. They'll always find something to complain about with the more budget-friendly versions of them. But again, usually all of the people that are going to be looking for dedicated studio monitors will probably go for something that's more expensive, something that's dedicated to that. The MR4s are great for dual listening. If you do want that flat sound, you can switch over to the studio monitor part of it. And if you want to listen more to music or to content, you can switch over to the music part of it, which will take into effect that kind of bass and low end or high end adjustments in the back. But again, I don't think the majority of people are really looking for speakers to be kind of mixing all the time. Just having a dedicated set of speakers will just help you listen to content better and kind of get better speakers than usually the crappy ones that come with monitors. But I'm interested to knowing your thoughts. Do you need a dedicated set of speakers to kind of get the full experience at your desk setup? Or are you okay with just using the speakers that come with your monitor? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.